Well, we're going to have a lot of fun. This is probably going to be very different than most presentations you're used to seeing here at Gartner. I'm Greg Aldana. I lead Appian's Global Solutions Consulting team based out of Washington, D.C., so it came a long way. Coming up on my one-year anniversary with Appian. I was with another software company for about 8 years, which will remain nameless. But prior to that, I spent about 15 years in the U.S. government, on the other side of the fence, leading digital transformations at the U.S. FDIC, the U.S. Selective Service System, as well as the Department of Treasury. So I kind of take an inside-out approach to things here. I was the customer. I've implemented Appian. I've implemented Pega and Microsoft and ServiceNow. And so we're going to cut through a lot of the hype today and give you a little bit of a reality check and show you how a lot of public sector companies today are getting value with Appian. And we're going to cut through a lot of the promises of the future and show you the reality of what's going on today. Let's just jump into it. So, I don't think a lot of people realize that Appian has been around for about 25 years, and it's one of the world's largest software companies when it comes to automation, orchestration, as well as many of the biggest Fortune 500 companies operate their most mission-critical business processes on Appian. I think people are very surprised when they hear that. And so, we've been doing this for a very long time, and you just got to take a look at some of these stats here to really appreciate what we're going to dive into. Over 20 of the top financial service institutions globally are using Appian to drive their most impactful business processes. We have 8 out of the 10 largest pharmaceutical companies that are leveraging Appian to orchestrate mission-critical processes supporting clinical trials and supply chain and the manufacturing of supplies for clinical trials. We are proud to be a leader in 20 of the top 20 analyst reports, Gartner and a few others, as well as low code, process mining, RPA. And finally, and probably most relevantly to a lot of people in this audience, all 15 US government cabinet level agencies are using Appian to drive measurable efficiencies in automating and orchestrating their mission. And we're going to show you some examples of that today. So I'm going to set things up and give you a little more background on how Appian does this, a little bit more about the platform. I'm going to share with you a little bit more about our philosophy and our approach on AI, which is very different than many software companies. And then we're going to finish it off with 3 killer examples of how customers are actually using our technology and our AI to get business value today. Not tomorrow, not in the future, not pilots or trials, but today. Honestly, when I was a customer and I worked for the US government, that's kind of what I was interested in the most. Hearing stories about how other agencies are using this technology to be successful. So let's get started here. I think at Appian, we spend a lot of time listening to different companies. I personally do a lot of traveling. I joke with a lot of my colleagues, my family doesn't recognize me because I spend more time on the road, but I meet with about 200 CIOs and CTOs a year globally, different industries. And really what we're hearing from all of them are these challenges, if these look familiar. There's just so many growing internal demands, and the cost of doing nothing is really, it's paralyzing a lot of these public sector agencies here. So we've kind of categorized a lot of what these companies and these agencies are doing as the legacy enterprise, where you're spending too much money, your environment is way too complex, you have an overload of technologies. You don't need any more. You're like, can somebody help me put all this together? There's so many obstacles, political obstacles, technical obstacles to efficiencies, and you still operate in silos. It's great to have a platform that's orchestrating everything, but hey, different business units don't want to work together. And then finally, it's just a confusing environment when it comes to AI. Everybody's promising the world. Everyone's promising to transform everything with a quarter of the people. And how do you cut through all that reality with an honest broker? And really, the companies and the government agencies that have figured this out and that are thriving, they have a dramatically different story. And it's something that we call the modern enterprise, where we have pharmaceutical customers that have regulatory submissions that are made without errors, reducing the cost and the cycle time with the FDA, and it has no errors whatsoever. Like, imagine that. We have financial service customers in this modern enterprise that are approving loans in real time. Imagine that. You go for a mortgage and getting it approved like within hours. We have manufacturing customers that are seeing their supply chain run flawlessly, making sure that customers see their innovations quickly and seamlessly. and then I think relevant to a lot of our public sector customers, government customers can serve their constituents instantly. Imagine never having to stand on line at the DMV again. I mean, that's kind of a big joke in the US. I don't know how it is here. But this is what the modern enterprise looks like. And so how do we do this? We do this by providing a very comprehensive end-to-end business transformation platform. First of all, Appian gives you all of the capabilities you need to redesign your most critical business processes. Mobile app creators, our data fabric, our new agent studio, AI composers. We have prepackaged vertical solutions. We have a government acquisition management tool. But then we give you all of the capabilities to take it a step further and to automate everything. AI, RPA, one of the market-leading BPM tools, our iPaaS integration, our document center. But it's not a one and done. You can't just design and automate and call it a day. You have to continually operationalize and optimize things. And that's where Appian is very unique. And that's why we know we will be a leader in the boat quadrant when it comes out this fall, because we have process mining and process optimization. We have something called Data Fabric Insights that allows you to continually take a look at the intelligence of what you're doing and how you optimize it. And it's very rare to have a single platform with all of these capabilities on one single platform. I spoke to a customer earlier this year from a theme park, and he said, hey, I finally get what Appian's value is. When I have a complex business problem that traverses multiple lines of business, internally, externally, and I need multiple capabilities to solve the problem. I need low code, I need RPA, I need process mining, and I own all of those capabilities in like 6 different platforms, but with Appian, I have them on one single platform so I can solve the problem quickly. So let's talk about the elephant in the room, right? Anybody talk about AI lately? It is, I think it's an understatement to say it's the most revolutionary change in process that we've seen in our lifetimes. Everybody in this room is probably using it on a daily basis, whether you know it or not. It's the rocket fuel that's going to take process beyond what was previously imaginable. And where most technology companies are out there evangelizing AI as helpers, we see AI as the worker. We see it as the public sector worker you never had and you couldn't even dream up. And equip it with Appian's AI directly, with process and with data from throughout your organization, from the whole enterprise, to go where the work is needed. And with all of those things, AI is serving to be the best, the most efficient, and the most compliant process government worker ever conceived. Now, there seems to be an awful lot of AI hype out there right now. We heard about it in the opening keynote. I think every time you turn on a television commercial, have you guys seen the new Appian commercial with Tom Cruise jumping out of the airplane? No, I'm just kidding. We haven't done that yet. But there sure is a lot of hype out there. And it's causing a lot of misunderstandings and a lot of confusion. And I see it daily when I speak with customers. Not too long ago, I met with a CIO who said, Greg, my top priorities for this year, was a public sector CEO. My top priorities for this year is number 1, process efficiency in the government, and number 2, AI. What's wrong with that? It was then that we realized how far the AI conversation had drifted from actual reality. How could it be that this CIO didn't realize that efficiency and AI are not 2 separate initiatives? They are one of the same. And with all this hype, you'd think that AI was for seeing around corners or proving out businesses with giant leaps of creativity or just going to plain out think all of the human beings in your agency. Maybe someday, but today that's not the reality. Right now, where the value is, AI today is for doing regular jobs with superhuman efficiency. Let me say that again. AI today is for doing regular jobs with superhuman efficiency. And what we've come up with, we've noticed that most software vendors are talking about AI agents and how they can do a lot of different things from outside of your business process. These agents sitting around. We take a very different approach, and we have a very different philosophy at Appian. As I mentioned, we consider AI agents to be the most efficient public sector process worker ever conceived. And so an AI agent ultimately needs to be able to replace the manual work that your employees are doing today. So an AI agent needs to act and operate like a new employee. You need to train a new employee, you need to train your agents. And given this, Our AI agents are built around a very powerful and a very pragmatic framework. Think, act, and learn. This isn't just a catchy phrase. It is the foundation of how we deliver enterprise-grade AI that drives real business outcomes. So let's break this down a little bit more. So first, think. When an agent receives a prompt, this first move is to think. Agents explore data and they have to formulate a response. I think we're all used to that. Now, it may take several inquiries, following up upon each to reach a decision, and the more data the agent can reach, the better. And our agents leverage our patented data fabric. This is our virtual semantic database layer that unifies all of your structured as well as your unstructured information across all of your systems, giving your AI agents the context it needs to make informed decisions. And don't be fooled. There's a lot of companies out there jumping on the fabric bandwagon now, but none of them have the read, write, and the scalability and a patent on it. Appian has I think about 4 patents on our data fabric that we launched back in 2022, way before the AI craze. But this gives our agents access to everything it needs across the enterprise with the speed and the security that's necessary. This isn't guesswork. It is process-rich, aware intelligence that understands the business landscape before taking action. Next, it has to act. And when the agent comes to a resolution, it needs to take action. And this is where Appian truly stands out from all the other vendors out there. Most AI systems, we've noticed, improvise their actions. This can be very risky, and you can get results that are unpredictable. This is where hallucinations come from. But with Appian, our agents act by launching allowable, pre-built, auditable business processes. This is a core difference. We don't give AI agents on our platform access to go do whatever they want. You get to predefine these actions. And of all the allowable agent actions or processes, you can easily incorporate AI to automate any process flow that exists within your agency. Whether you're using our pre-built AI agents that we have for routine things, or you can create your own. But processes are complex actions, and they can potentially trigger hundreds or different separate sets of work by dozens of different workers. So you have to be very careful what processes you actually give AI access to. And in every company and in every government agency, these actions are governed, they are traceable, and they are aligned to the enterprise goals, whether it's a simple task or it's a complex parallel workflow. It's AI with guardrails and governance, not just brute force. So they are more powerful, but they are more safe. And as in all processes are auditable and predictable, Appian provides the guardrails you need to keep your AI agents safe. And then finally, there's learn. You know, a good agent gets better with time, just like a good employee gets better with time. And it benefits from the knowledge of past results. And if you want to learn from past results, you must start by remembering them. And Appian monitors everything that happens in our processes on our platform with our award-winning process mining capability, Process HQ. With tools like this Process HQ, our agents can continuously learn from outcomes and optimize over time. And so with this, on average, Appian processes with AI-generated efficiency recommendations through Process HQ typically exceed about 20% cost savings in every time that they're run. So this isn't static AI. It evolves, it improves, and it gets smarter the more you use it. So when you take this all together, in short, Appian AI agents think with context, they act with control, and they learn with purpose. And that's how we deliver AI that's not only intelligent, but it's also trusted, powerful, and enterprise ready. And this year, we have seen AI in action on a scale that we've never seen before. And so the hype is over. This is the year to deliver on the promise of AI. And we focus on practical results over hype. And we have seen that AI use on our platform this year has grown in the first quarter by 7.9x. Not 7.9%, but almost 8 times the amount of usage of AI agents this year than we saw in all of last year. And we've seen that 70% of all of our customers in the cloud have adopted AI. This is the proof in the pudding. I challenge you to go ask other software vendors what these numbers are for theirs. You will see numbers that pale in comparison. And that's where the proof is in the pudding. And so we see all of this as part of our strategy to bring AI to work. We need to go where the work is happening. And it might not be sexy, and it might not be the most exciting commercials, but we put AI right in the middle where your work is. We know where the work is happening because we're running your most critical business processes. So pick a task, easily delegate some of our work to our suite of pre-built agents, and you can do the same work you were doing before, but you're just doing it better. You're doing it smarter, and you're doing it more efficient. And that's it. It's pretty simple, even boring. It wouldn't make for a good Tom Cruise commercial, but you know what? It gets results, and we're going to walk through some of those in a minute. It wouldn't be a tech presentation without a fancy car, right? So we must all understand why AI and process need each other. AI is kind of like the engine. It's powerful, but by itself kind of incomplete. You can have the most powerful engine in the world, it's not going to do much. And think of process as kind of like the car. It's the technology that surrounds the engine. You know, I keep on hearing everyone talk about AI is only as good as the data that it gets. And I do agree with that. That is true, but that's incomplete. AI is really only as good as the process that you feed it. And that's really where Appian comes in. Think of the process as the car. That is the Appian platform, the controls for the input, the dashboard for the readouts, the aerodynamics for the comfortable seats. AI without process can handle simple, one-off, silly administrative tasks, and we call that AI as the helper. AI with process can handle the heavy-duty work streams, supply chain, employee onboarding, supplier onboarding. That's AI as a worker. Process is the machinery that houses AI and directs power for the truly useful things that you need to get done inside of your agency. But the reason that this is important is because we look at Appian and we believe that process orchestration is the future of application development. And modern apps are process orchestrations. Think about this. Modern apps get work done in a way and at a pace that previous automation efforts never imagined were possible. We've seen how AI is transforming software development, but the real question is, what type of modern applications is your organization going to build? The future isn't more about more siloed applications to do one-offs in different departments. Instead, we are moving towards an increasingly connected digital environment where applications don't just process transactions, but they orchestrate seamless handoffs between people and systems and AI. This is where real transformation happens. When businesses leaders can directly see and they can understand and they can refine how their businesses operate right within the application itself. This is what modern applications should look like: connected, intelligent, and process-driven. So what is Appian's approach to AI to help modern apps realize business value inside of government agencies? Well, it's about putting AI inside of your process. That is the fastest way. Oh, somebody had a phone going off. It's okay. We've been laser focused on this idea, delivering a platform experience that helps our customers put AI to work, not in isolation, but right in the context, in the middle of your most critical decisions, where your most critical decisions are being made and where your most critical actions are being taken. Now, there are 6 challenges to help our customers transform their business processes with AIs. So let's break it down briefly, and then we'll go through some customer examples. So first, it's easy to start. We make it frictionless to drop AI into any workflow. No data science degree, you don't need to go hire a high-priced vendor, just a few clicks. With Appian, AI is drag and drop inside of low-code. Next, structure. AI is powerful on its own, but AI inside of a structured process is transformational. Our workflows guide how, when, and why AI makes decisions, providing reliability and purpose. Next, data. Back to the original statement, AI is only as good as the data you give it. And with Appian's patented data fabric, we unify all of your siloed data your structured data as well as your unstructured data, giving AI the real-time contextual access and understanding of information it needs to perform and make intelligent decisions. Next, safety. And this is critical. In Appian, AI runs within the guardrails because it acts through defined, auditable processes. You get control, you get transparency, and you get trust, all key elements for enterprise adoption. Next, analytics. In Appian, every decision and every action that AI performs on our platform is tracked and it is auditable by both internal and external third parties. That means you can measure AI's impact against the goals of your business in real time. We don't have to go back in 6 months and get the data logs and check to see if we met the original goals. With Appian, you can monitor these AI usage in real time to see if you're delivering on the return on investment that you promised. And then finally, probably most importantly, scalability. Whether it's one process or 1,000, Appian's infrastructure and our capabilities and our features easily scale AI to the enterprise without rebuilding or starting from scratch. So you take all this together, and where does Appian's AI really truly live? In the middle of your processes, powering smarter decisions, safer actions, and measurable outcomes. That's how we make AI real, not the hype, and it's how our customers are turning automation into transformation. But we didn't stop there. I think some of you saw earlier today some of the new innovations we had at our demo booth with our principal solution consultant, Nick. Our Agent Studio now, where you can build and deploy agents in minutes using powerful no-code tools. We launched AI Document Center. Nick did a great demonstration of this, and now you can deploy and optimize document extractions using generative AI, no prompting required. Think about how many of your most critical processes involve reading documents. And we've also introduced agentic AI for RPA. Where RPA has been a band-aid for many years, a lot of problems that we've seen with using RPA is that they're brittle and they break. With AI built into it, it's self-healing, and it can automate any legacy task easily. Now, we're giving you the ability to build your own agents, but out of the box, we're giving you pre-built agents for routine things that we see very often, like extracting PII from a document, or classifying a piece of text, or routing a case. From there, we've also allowed you probably two of the most exciting innovations that I've seen on Appian in well over a decade, AI Composer. You can now go from idea to application in minutes using natural language. Now, Nick gave you a little bit of a demonstration, but I've seen one of our customers that I'm going to talk about today do miraculous things that I'll share with you. And then finally, AI Smart Search, where you can help users intelligently find anything and search across structured and unstructured documents. But let's get to the heart of the matter. So what is everybody doing with all this great stuff? Great approach, great methodology, great capabilities. What are people doing? Well, Appian customers are realizing strategic value today. We have one underwriting agency or one insurance company that's getting better underwriting accuracy, 30% higher accuracy in the processing of their documents, and they are saving and they're expecting about $400,000 in revenue growth per month. It's pretty impressive. Next, we have a manufacturing company that's now introduced touchless order processing in the UK. AI processing up to 2,000 emails a day with 90% accuracy of data extraction. And what you can take from this, it's not only is AI helping these companies move faster, but AI agents are helping them perform better, writing better loans faster, better for the customers and better for the company. But let's break down some public sector examples with a little more granularity. This first example, intelligent public sector investigations. So this client, who shall remain nameless, is a defense agency in the US, handles some of the most sensitive criminal and counterintelligence investigations. And their processes, like many, were disconnected and slow, limiting agent collaboration and slowing down mission-critical decisions. And they were able to build an entire criminal investigation system on Appian, a secure investigative case management system now used by over 300 global locations. And in totality, they are now saving over 3,000 plus FTA hours a year. They're supporting the production of over 1,500 criminal cases annually. They're now using AI-generated strategies to drive the course of some of the investigations. And then finally, they're saving 24 hours on average savings per case. So let's break this down. It's a great slide. These are great outcomes. How'd they do it? Well, let's talk about where they started from. How did, from a case first getting reported all the way being referred to the prosecutor for defense? It was a mess. Manual processes were leading to over 2,400 hours of processing on average a year. It was a nightmare. Disparate systems and disjointed data injected complexity into all of these manual processes, and the overall user experience and the efficiency was less than stellar. Manual tasking and non-intelligent routing, manual routing and assignment, not knowing where something was at, were driving process inefficiencies and significant cost burdens here. I mean, the lack of AI and automation prevented efficiencies, and it prevented automated document generation and parsing, and everything was being done manually. And there was just an immense amount of difficulty in real-time collaboration due to this unfriendly, non-standardized mechanisms across all these different departments, and it was elongating it. Who would want to manage a prosecution or a criminal investigation in this nightmare? Well, they reimagined this on Appian as one seamless workflow. From the beginning to the end, everybody involved in the investigation would go into one system to report the case, to ingest it, to manage the entire investigation process, to schedule interviews, to do the forensic processing, to compile that final report, put it into the criminal index, and refer it for prosecution. And they didn't eliminate these underlying systems, but they leveraged our intelligent data fabric to extract the users so they didn't have to go in and out of these systems inefficiently. So let's give you a little more details how the actual Appian platform solved this. We'll break it down into 3 areas: the case referral and ingestion, the investigative workflow execution, and then finally how they were reporting evidence and indexing and stakeholder syncing, keeping everybody who's involved in these prosecutions in sync. So let's start with the case referral and ingestion. The first area, an automated case ingestion. They had structured intake forms and a secure digital data ingestion from all of the different command centers, field agents, and all the different referrals. From there, they were doing email and document parsing. This is really where you start to see Appian's AI with document processing providing value. LLM-based intakes of referrals, automatically classifying and launching different workflows. From there, they're using AI-powered classification. It would suggest different case types based upon the reading of this information. It would assign the investigation priority. Certain investigations had to be prioritized over others, and it would recommend the best intake path to move forward. And then finally, they were using Appian to build in the validation and all the access controls, built-in system validations that would ensure that the inputs were correct and that the role-based controls would restrict visibility. This was very sensitive criminal information, and they had to ensure that only the right people could access the right information. What this led to was faster triage of critical cases, clean validated data moving forward, and that secure handoff from the referring party. Next was the investigative workflow itself, managing the entire process from the interviews to the forensics. And they started with this enterprise-to-enterprise workflow automation, all the task routing for the interviews, the evidence tracking, the surveillance planning, as well as all the requests to forensic labs. Next, they were using our data fabric to read and write seamless access to all the different personnel systems, the intelligence systems, as well as incident databases with row-level security, given how sensitive this information was. They were also doing a secure attachment capture, where they could upload images, audio, documents, all linked to the investigation steps in one seamless, secure way. And this is something that's on the roadmap that they've started already. This is AI-aided planning. This is really cool. This is where AI on the Appian platform will auto-suggest interrogation strategies or the next steps based on the profile of the incident and the history. I mean, what this provided them, complete 360 agent and case visibility, accelerated task execution across all the different teams involved, and it reduced the investigative cycle time and their backlog. And then finally, the reporting, the evidence indexing, and keeping all the stakeholders in sync. The report of investigation generation, the most critical step in the process to bring all this together into a seamless document, was automatically compiled and structured using pre-approved templates for the referral to prosecution. At the same time, they were using our data fabric to write back and keep all of these criminal indexes updated. Writes back into all the different evidence repositories to keep all the information in sync. Legally, this is required in order to build a case. All the two-way communications, all the syncing of the status and the documentation from the referring parties to the prosecutor to the internal chain of command. And then finally, this all has to be audited. Time tracks the timeliness, the access, and all the SLA conformance across the agents and the regions. I mean, in summary, this was rapid delivery of defensible case reports. They could show exactly how it was gathered and that all the underlying systems were updated. The end-to-end traceability of who did what, when, and where, and how, and they got real-time insight that they never had into open cases and all these resolution trends. This next example, probably one of my personal favorites, AI-powered patient onboarding. This company, Acclaim Autism, in the United States, and they're a provider that matches children with autistic spectrum disorder with providers who provide care. And I can tell you this is kind of a personal thing for me. I have 3 daughters, 2 of which who have some severe learning disabilities, and I can tell you, children with autistic spectrum disorder, time is of the essence. Their brains are still very malleable, and the impact of how successful the treatment can be depends on how early you get access to them. And in the United States, on average, it took about 6 months to onboard a patient and get them access to care. And with Appian, they were able to reduce that from 180 days down to 6 days. They were able to reduce the new patient wait time by 96%. They were getting, on average, a 95% data accuracy in extracting information from documents. And then finally, and probably most importantly, it complied with all HIPAA compliance for full data privacy because no patient data could be used to train public models. Let's see how they did it. Very similar. Previously, for a patient to get access to care, this looks familiar, a spaghetti mess, right? I mean, it was just insane. Manual work, taxing the staff, lengthening the process. No alerts, no tasks, things sitting on people's desktops, resulting in long delays. Keying and rekeying of the same information into multiple systems. Some of the workers, they were tracking things in Word documents and notepads. It was such a frustrating environment. They were having about a 95% employee turnover year over year. This was not a fun environment to work in. And the data extraction from all of these documents took an inordinate amount of time. But again, like we saw in the last example, in under 3 weeks, you heard me right, 3 weeks from design into production, they built one seamless workflow that took all the people, the intake coordinator, the scheduling team, the clinical director, everyone, and extracted them from this mess using our enterprise virtual data fabric. And I'm glad to say after 3 weeks, they were able to implement this, and now they've got a 90% retention rate for their employees because this is a really cool, fun environment to work in. And so let me break down for you the 3 areas of how they did this. The intelligent patient intake, using AI to power the verification routing, and how they finally get them to provide quality care faster. First, they developed a nice public portal using our out-of-the-box portals here to get people to submit all of their information in one seamless guided way that walked you through, kind of like TurboTax. No more emailing back and forth. From there, they developed a set of dashboards so their internal staff could see all of the employee or all of the patient information and the clinical information in one seamless dashboard. No more swivel chairing. They were able to do this by using a lot of the native integrations in our data fabric so that they could have one automated source of truth, not going into all those underlying systems. But really the heart of the matter was using AI to do all of the verification and routing required to onboard a patient. They were able to develop AI agents with prompts to go through and actually read all of these documents and extract all the DSM-5 codes to make sure we had a proper diagnosis. What I learned from working with Acclaim Autism is there is no standard record format for behavioral diagnoses. So you could have one child with the same affliction, and you could have 70 different doctors document it 70 different ways. It was a use case custom built for AI. From there, they used AI to make sure that it was stayed private and that none of our public models were being trained with any of the sensitive data. From there, they used generative AI to not only extract the data for the diagnosis, but they could also read the doctor's notes, their personal handwriting. Have you ever seen the doctor's notes? They're pretty messy. That's how good the AI is getting. And then finally, they were using our BPM and they were using our smart workflows to eliminate all the reviewing of the spreadsheets and the routing of all this information. They automated it. And they did all this in 3 weeks. But I will share a funny story with you. They didn't stop there. Initially, they got it down to 3 weeks. You saw 6 days. Well, I was sitting next to the founder, Ryan Cox of Acclaim Autism, back the first week of June. And he's like, Greg, we started using Process HQ and process mining. And he literally whips out his phone. He says, you need to change your presentation. We got it down to 6 days now because Process HQ and the process mining was giving them alerts and efficiencies with AI on how they can make the process even better. And they've been so impressed now that they're going to be replacing Salesforce with our case management studio and further to accelerate the times and the outcomes. And I think this says it all. Appian serves as a proof of concept for all future AI application development that Acclaim will roll out in 2005. So I hope you've been just as impressed as I've been with the way that public sector agencies are using Appian's AI today. If you'd like more information, come to our booth. I think, what is it, 323? I don't know. Yeah, just down there. You can see the big Appian logo. We can give you a deep dive into any of these, but really what we'd love to do is we'd like to set up kind of a free of charge workshop where we come on site, we break down a process, and we show you how you can use AI to accelerate some of the outcomes you're trying to do today. So I'll be hanging out for the next 2 days. Love to meet with you and hear more. Thank you very much.